Hi, this is Brian Massard with Reminisce Angus Beef, and I'm on the road again delivering great Reminisce Angus Beef products, jerky, salamis, beef sticks, and New York steaks to some stores and to some people that we work with all around Montana. And I just wanted to get on and talk to folks about a couple things. I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of great people. Dr. Ken Berry, Kelly Hogan, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Paul Saladino, Dr. Sean Baker, and Nina T. Schultz. And these guys have all really broken open the myth, the lie, the scam, if you will, back in the late 50s about fat, about saturated fat, about fat, animal fat, causing cardiovascular disease and cancer and diabetes and all these other health food problems. There's been a concerted effort and to ban, block, or let's say shadow ban it like they do on Facebook from the public. And these guys are doing a fantastic job. And we listen to them all the time. We're learning as a beef industry. And one thing we've learned, I hear a lot of them talk about, but I don't think any of them really have a grasp on it, are these large CAFOs, a lot of things, antibiotics, and sorry, I got trucks going by right now, make sure I'm out of the way. But people think that there's either grass-fed or grain-fed, and grass-fed is when the cow eats grass its entire life, or hay, or some kind of long stem feed stuff. It can be straw, it can be stems, any kind of grass, any kind of cellulose. That's grass-fed, okay? People think that when you put a cow in a feedlot, you stop feeding them grass, stop feeding them that natural thing, you force feed them corn, you make them all get sick, then you have to give them antibiotics to keep them healthy, then you have to inject them full of hormones to make them gain the weight that they've lost. The cattle are sick, the meat is tainted, and don't buy meat at the grocery store. It's bad. They've done all of this stuff to this meat, to these animals, and then they label that meat unethical, and that's a bunch of BS crap. Call it whatever you want. That is untrue, and most people don't understand. They've never even been there. They've never been to any of these feedlots. They don't understand the scrutiny that's there. And I want to bring up something. Listening to all this, we're selling our own meat online now. And the reason we're selling our own meat online is we can't make money in that system where 98% of us sell all of our cattle through the regular chains right now. They go into bigger and bigger and bigger feedlots, going into bigger and bigger and bigger grocery stores, and they get fed through bigger packers. Everything is consolidated. And we in agriculture, and now listening to the doctors and the dietitians and everything, everybody has been focused, especially me. I'll stay in ranching. We all blame the packers. We blame the big feeders. We're blaming, and the big grocery stores, we're blaming the symptoms that are a direct result from the scam and the lie that these Harvard professors and the sugar companies perpetrated against American people in the late 50s, all through the 60s. Ultimately, one of the Harvard professors that was involved in that scam, and you can go look it up, Harvard was paid tens of thousands of dollars to skew results and show sugar is good for you. It's just an empty calorie, and animal fat is bad for you. And so we really have to change our focus. We really have to change the focus of our battles, if you will. And we can't go after the feedlots. We can't go after the big packers. That's why there's never been a major lawsuit won against these guys, is because they're symptoms of the problem. You have people at the head of our food chain telling us still that fat isn't good for you. Go eat your carbs, eat your sugar, take your insulin, and shut up. And that's who we've got to go after. We've got to get into the USDA. And I really thank Nina T. Schultz, who wrote The Big Fat Surprise, who really blew the lid off of all this for making more and more people aware of, hey, wait a minute. Beef consumption has dropped about somewhere, you can argue, 30 to 40%, closer to 40% today from the early 1970s. And we've lost over 500,000 ranchers out there raising cattle. Thank you, Sean Baker, for bringing that up. And that's all because people thought fat was bad. People thought that if you're going to have a heart attack, it all comes from fat. And so us being unaware of it out in the ranching community, because we're fixing fence and taking care of cows, because we love our cows, basic animal husbandry, trying to raise the best meat possible, assuming people knew it was good for them, didn't have a clue. And so now we're kind of have this natural collaboration where we got to start working together. But it is not the packers, it is not the feeders. There is no antibiotics in your meat. So don't, when you hear Joe Rogan, when you hear Paul Saladino, those are two things I'll disagree with those guys. We feed our cattle, Reminisce Angus Beef, we feed our cattle in a feedlot that feeds 30,000 head of cattle. We're a tiny little producer out here trying to make a go of it, trying to help our small communities thrive. And the infrastructure to do all that at home and to do it all here isn't available right now. And I really want to know for the truth, are we part of the problem? Is all corn so laced with glyphosate that it gets into the meat and that's getting into people and then we're getting sick? Well, that's not true. How do I know it's not true? Because we test our meat. We've gone through great lengths. Those tests are very expensive, and we want to know. It's non-detectable. The cow's metabolism breaks that down, discharges it, just like everything that we get in our system that isn't good, and it's gone. And how do we know? Because we test it. There's very few labs that can even test for glyphosate in America, and we have found them and we tested. And you can eat Reminisce Angus beef and be assured that you're not getting any glyphosate. Second thing, people say that all the medicine we use in cattle, and we're heavily, again, we're force feeding these cattle corn, and I need to touch base on that again. Two things. When you put a cow in a feedlot, they don't stop eating grass. And I don't care if you put it in a pen with 2 cows on your farm and you keep feeding it hay and then start feeding it corn or oats or whatever other grain products you have, or if you put it in a 30,000 head feed yard, they will eat grass every day the rest of their life. Always. We just add corn to it. Sometimes barley gets added to it. Sometimes potato gets added to it. And a lot of these are wastes that humans, it's the byproduct. It's, things that aren't high grade. I mean, cows can eat and break down all kinds of stuff, convert it in their system, and then give us healthy protein. And so, unless you've been in a big feed yard and look at the scrutiny that's there, unless you've been in a big packing house and look at the scrutiny that they go underneath to provide healthy food, it's easy to jump on the bandwagon. It's easy to buy into these narratives that they're all bad. And I'm not saying that they're all great. Yes, I would love to have 50 packing houses to choose from. I would love to have, when I grew up as a kid, our feedlot, we finished fat cattle. We always had 50 to 100 head that we finished for other people, and they went 60 miles up the road to a little packing house. Those feedlots are gone because people are eating less meat. So again, don't be afraid of all the stuff. I want to thank all those carnivores I mentioned. I want to thank all the doctors. I want Nina T. Scholes especially for blowing this wide open. And if you want to support Montana, if you like the Yellowstone series, you're doing it. You're preserving open space. You're protecting small communities. You are helping Montana be what it is. And if we don't survive out here on the landscape, and a lot of the wealthy absentee owners come in, sell off all the cattle, do their fishing thing or their escape thing, these communities dry up. So it's a great reason to buy Reminisce Angus beef. With that said, you're buying the best beef you can buy on the planet. Our comments that come back are reviews, people who call us, people who email us and text us. They don't say, I'm sure glad you never gave that cow a shot and it's antibiotic free and I feel good. They say, this is the best meat on the planet. How in the world do you do this? And we do it over and over and over again. We have a flavor gene that we identified 30 years ago. We've hung on to it, and our meat is exceptional. It's fabulous. And the last thing I'll say is, I just remembered again, all of our meat is antibiotic free. All the meat that comes through the system, no matter where you get it, that's USDA inspected, is antibiotic free. Why? Because there's withdrawal periods in the drugs that we have to give cattle, and we have to give them those drugs. Sometimes, not all of them, it's not all cattle that get treated. Some get treated. It's our responsibility to take care of them. We respect them. We give them the absolute best they can every day they're here until they're taking care of us. We test our meat. So I'm not just saying that. I'm not just blowing smoke. We test our meat, same as the glyphosate. It's non-detectable, which means it's clear out of their system. It's illegal to give your cow a shot and then send it to the butcher to make a buck, because they'll find it. And that's wrong. That's why we have USDA inspectors. So with that, take a look at Reminisce Angus Beef. Take a look at remangusbeef.com. Look at Montana. Look at open space. Start eating better, feeling better, and living a better life with Reminisce Angus Beef. Bon appetit.